Hey everybody, welcome back to another spine-chilling episode of Horror Talks with Tate. My name is Tate Irons and I'm your host for this podcast, and we are back with another bonus episode where we talk all things horror with special guests. As you guys remember, in the last bonus episode, we had Natasha Tosini and Stephen Staley with us when we were talking about Viral Hunt, and it was so great chatting with them. Anyway, today we have another special guest here with us who will be in the upcoming Viral Hunt. We have Jack Hyde with us, and he's going to play one of the characters in the movie. How are you doing?
I'm great, Tate. Thank you for having me on this episode.
No problem. It's so great having you here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just absolutely great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So, how did you get into acting, especially in the horror genre?
Well, I actually started acting when I was like about 6 years old and professionally when I was 16 years old. And I did like a lot of like a whole bunch of different genres, like drama, thriller, comedy and everything. I did do like a little bit of like horror films like here and there. And yeah, like it was just basically like any opportunity that came my way, I would just sort of like accept it and just go fully like 100% on it, much like I did with Viral Haunt and everything. But yeah, like I think that the horror film genre, it's definitely quite an interesting one, and I love being a part of it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great because I heard so much about Viral Hunt with Natasha and Steven, and I'm like very excited to see that movie. So I can't wait for it. So
Hmm.
yeah. Um, what did you think the audience will feel when they see the movies that you're in?
So I think like for Viral Haunt, what's kind of like really interesting is that it kind of like has like, sort of like that Blair Witch Project kind of feel and everything. But instead of it just being like a film crew, it's kind of like, a group of like YouTubers. And I think like that's kind of like what makes it so like fitting, like in this current like society, sort of like this generation, with social media, YouTube and everything. And I think like that would kind of like resonate with like a lot of people who are used to like those kind of platforms and everything, just kind of like not just like YouTubers, but like also streamers as well. So I think like it would be kind of like really relatable, like in this generation that we're in and everything with social media and streaming and social media platforms.
Ah, that's so good because let's hope the audience will be enjoying Viral Hunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so if you like horror movies, what is your favorite horror film or franchise?
Oh God. I have to say, like my favorite horror films, because I have two. I have two that like really stick to my mind. It would have to be Silence of the Lambs and Hereditary. I would say, yeah, because like Silence of the Lambs, it's just like so iconic, especially like the interrogation scene between Clarice Starling, Jodie Foster, and Hannibal Lecter, Sir Anthony Hopkins, and everything. It's just absolutely cinematic and everything. I have like watched other actors like try to do that scene, but no, none of them like. They're all right, but like none of them come as quite as good as how Jodie and Anthony did it, and it is just like so iconic. I could only see those two doing that scene and nothing else. It does have like a little bit of a thriller element to it, Silence of the Lambs, but yeah, like it was just really incredible. And Hereditary, which I actually just started watching back recently. It was kind of like a preparation for an audition. Um, and that film was just incredible. Like it has like one of my favorite actresses, Toni Collette, who's just phenomenal in it. Like the dinner scene. Like, in fact, like every scene that she's in, she just nails it. Just as that grieving mother figure and everything, and just so conflicted. Like she was just absolutely incredible. How she didn't get nominated an Oscar for that, I have no
Mm.
idea. But yeah, like Heredity and Silence of the Lambs, those two horror films, phenomenal. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did love Hereditary, but I haven't seen Silence of the Lab yet. I'm gonna have to try and see that when I can.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, yeah, seriously, you have to watch Silence of the Lambs. I might be like a little bit big-headed when I say this, but
Okay.
I would consider it as a horror classic. Absolutely recommend that film. It
Uh,
came out in like what, like 1990 something, but yeah,
yeah.
beautiful film.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Well, I'm gonna have to check it out when I can. Yeah. Um. So, are there any other upcoming projects that you're excited about?
Well, yeah, like I'm actually currently acting in one film, feature film, and it's a thriller called Bitter Revenge. We actually started shooting it in November. I think it was like round late November and everything, but it got like pushed back because of like there were like some like one of the crew members was going had like their own issues and everything, so it's been like pushed back to next month and everything. And I think yeah, like we're shooting like around late January, early February, so I'm looking forward to that. And I've actually been like submitting myself for other films and everything, mostly like short and feature, a couple of commercials here and there, so just waiting to hear back from those, and fingers crossed for them.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to check that movie out if I can.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely let you know when it's available. I mean, like it might be available on Prime. I just have to wait to hear from the director like which loading platform he's going to show it on. So
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear about it. Um, so I'm gonna ask you the questions for Viral Hunt. Can you
okay.
tell us about your character in Viral Hunt and the role in the story?
A- Absolutely. So I play Richard in Viral Haunt, and he's kind of like one of the founding members, along with Jake, who creates this YouTube channel called Haunt Hunters in it and everything. So it's basically kind of like like when you watch like those paranormal ghost TV shows and everything. So
Yep.
like so they sort of like investigate like abandoned built, sort of like churches, warehouses, places that are haunted, to try to film and catch like any paranormal activity that goes on in these places. And I think like for Richard, to me, he comes across like like sort of like the mature one and everything. Like I mean, he doesn't lose it. Spoiler alert: he doesn't lose it until the very end, and
Okay.
um, and yeah, so like and I think like the way that I see it, like Richard, he kind of comes across as like the a symbol of like those YouTubers who just like make videos and post content, for the passion of it, for the sake of it, and everything. And Jake is somewhat like that. And by the way, I have to say, like Jake, Jack Hoy, he plays Jake like amazingly, just absolutely incredible. Loved working with him, and yeah, like Jake, he kind of is like that, like when they're best friends, but like when they start blowing up, when they start becoming bigger, like obviously Jake starts to become like the embodiment of everything that's wrong with sort of like social media influencers, sort of like the money, the fame, and in this case, staging stuff, and everything to make them to make the audience like fall for it and everything. And it's just like those two contrasts and everything. So it's like Richard's like the sort of like represents the pure side, and Jake represents like the ugly side of like social media influences. And yeah, like and Richard is kind of like he's really passionate and about this. Like he doesn't see Haunt Hunters as like a just a YouTube channel. He sees it as like his pride and joy, like his blood, heart, and soul. And basically, it's what his whole life is basically haunt hunters, and obviously when it gets taken away from him, he's just like this, this empty shell of a person, and he flies off the rails for for like understandable reasons and everything. So yeah, he was quite an interesting person, Richard was. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, yeah. So for the premise of Viral Hunt is intriguing. How does it stand out from other horror films?
So I think like for because I've watched like a lot of horror films, and they do tend to, I mean, not trying to like I'm not trying to like bash the horror film community, but it's just that like as a film spectator, like watching a lot of film horror films, where it sort of like relies sort of like jump scares, horror, you know, and sort of like sex and everything. I'm just like kind of like I'm not a huge fan of that. But I think like for Viral Haunt, it kind of like avoids that. I mean, there's definitely like some, I mean, there's definitely some blood in it, I can guarantee that. um and and yeah, like it's kind of like it basically, what really makes it stand out is it shows like the extremities of how much like these, like these group of streamers are willing to go, how much they're willing to push themselves for the sake of content and everything. And whether it's like even like if it has to like state, comes to staging stuff and everything, it just shows like the extremities of like how far. And it's kind of like a really, it's kind of like a really it's kind of like really harmful and everything. So I think like to incorporate the horror element, with sort of like making like viral content and social media, and sort of like how big like this one social media status is and everything, to incorporate the horror element, it kind of, that's what kind of like really makes it stand out and everything. Because it's not just about like, it's a bunch of like streamers like investigating a horror, a place that's haunted and everything, and they're staging and everything, but it, in some degree, it kind of like shows like how, like how toxic and how, you know harmful social media is when you sort of like do it the wrong way and everything. So yeah, I think that's what kind of like really makes it stand out. Like I said, I'm not trying to offend, like I'm not trying to say like, oh, you shouldn't become a social media influencer and everything, but but yeah, like I think like that's what makes it really really stand out from a lot of horror films.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I'll be
I
really,
mean, like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, I'm not a social media influencer, and if I'm being honest with you, I don't really. I mean, even though I have like a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I don't really do much of it, to be quite honest with you. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah. How does it feel when working with Stephen, Natasha, and the rest of the cast?
oh, I mean, seriously, those guys are just absolutely fantastic. I mean, just Natasha, Stephen, like I mentioned, like Jack, Kelly, Will, even like Danielle, Heavenly, and Elliot, like and the whole crew. They were just like a really, really fun team to watch. They made me feel like very welcomed and everything. And because like even though we're all of us are like from different backgrounds, we just kind of connected like right off the bat. Like even like when we had the Zoom rehearsal and everything, once we got to know each other, like how each other worked and everything, and once when it came to the shoot and everything, we just hit it off right away. Like everyone was just so phenomenal, so supportive and everything. And yeah, like it was just such a fun time. They were a really exceptional bunch. They made this film possible and everything, and they made, I mean, like they brought so much to the people or characters that they were playing and everything. And at the same time, I got to learn so much from them, and they got to learn so much from me. So it was just like phenomenal working with those guys. I love them, and just have absolute 1,000% respect for them.
Wow, that is so not nice to hear I when I did interview Stephen and Natasha, they they said that they have been doing a good time like doing all the directing, writing, producing, and acting. It's like
Hmm.
because like I
Yeah,
yeah
I was just saying, like, because like that's the thing though. Like, not only do I just act, but I also write and produce my own works as well. And even though I've never directed anything, it was mostly like acting, writing, and producing and everything. But to like sort of like do like all of that, sort of like those four, work on those four fronts and everything, writing, producing, acting, and directing. I mean, it's incredible how they do that, like how they're able to like balance that, because like especially just like the how much workload and how much like sort of like how much like control that you have in like those positions. How Stephen and Natasha were able to do that, it's just like it was just amazing. I was like so moved by them and everything, and especially like them starting up like Tour Entertainment Limited, just to start up like their own production company. Just huge respect for them. Like like I respect those guys so much, and yeah, just watching them how they work, it was incredible, man. It really was.
y- yeah because I did tell them that I didn't expect them to do that, but yeah, I was so proud of them, and I can't wait to see what they got. Um,
Yeah.
did you bring any personal ideas or inputs to your character or the story?
Yeah, I actually did. It was actually really interesting because like when I officially when Natasha messaged me and said like, hey Jack, congratulations. We loved your Richard self-tape, so you're our Richard and everything. I thought, oh great. I actually did do much like a lot of like preparations that I do for like any role, any film and everything. I would sort of like, sort of like go to the script, sort of like this, the situations that I'm involved in, like circle, the literal words, sort of like the give and take, focusing on what the other person or what the other people are saying, sort of like Jake, Joe, and Belle and Demi, I would focus on what those guys are saying as Richard, sort of like to improve listening, and sort of like give myself like as Richard like a level of substance, as well as like give those other people like substance and everything. And it's kind of like the podcast scene with Zara, who played by Danielle. She so like it was just like the Haunt Hunters. I wasn't in that scene and everything, but I was sort of like I would kind of like watch how that scene would go, because like um Zara, and her podcast is called Things That Go Bump in the Night. She would like mention like me, Richard, like, oh yeah, I have to ask, like, where's Richard? I mean, like, I know that I heard that, him and I, we go way back, nice guy and everything. And I felt like even though I'm not involved in that scene, it would make sense for me to like watch that, just to provide like a little bit more substance, to sort of like, okay, so like what's my, so I'm like asking myself, okay, so what's my relationship with Zara like? How, when did we first meet? How long have we known each other and everything? Just kind of like the giving myself like a better understanding of Richard and everything. And like when we had the group Zoom rehearsal and everything, um like I I mean, like it was good to like rehearse with the guy so I could like familiarize myself and everything. But like at the same time, I felt, you know what, I did like my own like rehearsal with like readers on We Audition. So sort of like I was working with one called Jonathan, based in Spain, and he said to me like, Jack, you have to find the connection of like after he gets fired from Haunt Hunters, before he goes to Ripper Manor and like he starts flying off the rails. You need to find that connection and everything. And I thought like that was really useful. So I started like, okay, so like how could I do this? Like how could I like feel like put like my own like spices and everything, like so how can I feel that connection, make that connection possible? And yeah, so sort of like just like this have like Richard descend into like this state of complete chaos and madness and everything. So yeah, like I mean, I did like my own preparation when it came to like understanding and and putting my own humanity into Richard.
Ah.
Yeah, I know it's quite. I know it's quite like analytical and everything. So yeah, but like that's kind of like my approach. Like that's kind of like my way of like work. You know, sort of like incorporating my creativity, my own work into it. And plus, I actually did like even like during the production, like during my break, I would like go on my phone and I would sort of like read through like sort of like articles about like sort of like haunted places in like different counties, churches, and everything. Because I feel like that is something that Richard would do because he's so he's so into that. Like he's so drawn into that and everything. So sort of like interrogating places. It's like, oh yeah, we could investigate this place, we could film at that place, you know. So yeah, once again providing like a new layer of substance to Richard.
That is so great. That was good. Um, so I have one more question before we go. Um,
Mm.
Horror films often involve intense and emotional scenes. How do you unwind after shooting such sequences?
Well, yeah, like I think there's definitely like a lot of Viral Haunt definitely has like a lot of high stakes and everything, which I like. You know, it just keeps the energy pumping and everything. And sometimes like after when I finish filming like an intense scene, when I'm done for the day, I would often like meditate. You know, because like sometimes because I have this meditation app called Insight Timer, and at that time I was doing like these breath work meditations. So like breath work, sort of like breath work sessions to help sort of like energize you, boost your vitality, and others to sort of like relax you and sort of like keep you grounded and sort of like deep, sort of like make you feel put like sort of like be in like a deep meditative state and everything. So I would kind of like use sort of like deep relaxation, euphoric, and box breathing, just to help me to sort of like even though Richard is like a little bit of Richard is still there and everything, but it's just best to I would use like meditation, like those even the ones that I mentioned, just to sort of like help me relax. And it's like okay, okay, Jack, you've done this like really intense scene. I thought it went pretty well. It was definitely a lot of fun, but you just need to, whew, just
Yeah.
you know so yeah, I feel like with meditation, and like I said, this is just how I work, just the use of meditation. Not only is it a good way to take care of yourself, but it also like impacts like your personality as well as your performance and everything. So yeah, like I just use like meditation just to as a way to take me out of it.
Yeah, that's so cool because about what you're saying that what Valheim will have for the scenes, I will be looking forward to them. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like Viral Horn. It's just like it was just like such an absolute thrill and everything. This is actually my first ever horror feature film that I acted in and everything, and and yeah, like it was just like it was just so incredible and everything. Like like I said, there's a lot of high stakes, like a lot of like raw tense and emotions, and just like a huge everybody delivered and everything. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to to see how the film turns out and everything. And yeah, it's you know I'm really looking forward to it.
yeah, yeah, me too, because I think it's gonna be a blast.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for now. So thank you so much, Jack, for coming along.
Thank you, Tate.
No, no problem. So everyone, if you are excited to see Viral Hunt, then go see it coming very, very soon. And I hope you guys enjoy seeing the role that Jack Hyde will be onto in the project. So we're all looking forward to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, so don't forget that I will be back next time for the next episode, and but I will announce them to you soon. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this interview, and thank you so much, Jack, for coming to Horror Talks with Tate.
You're welcome, Tate. You're welcome. And
No,
thank you so much for having me.
no problem. It was great talking with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, stay spooky, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.